If life gave you every reason to quit, would you still choose to smile? Everyone says I'm a happy man, and they're right. But I wasn't born this way. In fact, I used to wish I wasn't born at all. The crowd shouted in mourning, shocked by my confession. What kind of man would say such a thing? He laughed. What kind of man would say such a thing, right? He said, eyes scanning the room. Now let me tell you my story. I was born into extreme poverty. I didn't even finish my primary school. My family barely ate twice a day. I was raised in an atmosphere that normalized suffering, where survival was victory and dreams were a luxury. As a young adult, I toiled in a garment factory, earning barely enough to exist. My two closest friends were slightly more educated, but shared the same fate: bitterness, pessimism, depression, and anger at how cruel life seemed to be toward us every single day. We were the closest of friends. I mean, we had a common view about life, and that made us the best of friends. During lunch breaks or after shifts, our conversations were always the same. Life is unfair. The rich are just lucky. Happiness is for fools. We were addicted to sadness, obsessed with suffering, and unknowingly we poisoned our futures with that mindset. Then something happened. 3 encounters changed everything about my life gradually, without me even knowing it. The first was with a neighbor of mine who was a war veteran. He had lost both of his legs during a rescue mission in another nation. But that wasn't all. He also lost one of his arms, and one side of his ear no longer worked. To have a proper conversation with him, you had to stand on the side of the ear that still functioned. When the incident happened, we all thought he would die. He was brought back home lifeless and hopeless. But somehow, he survived, miraculously. And when he did, he became the source of joy for many in our community. He was always filled with joy, always smiling. One day, I couldn't hold my curiosity any longer. I asked him, "How do you smile through all this? I don't get it. You've been condemned to a wheelchair, deaf in one ear, missing an arm, and yet you're the one making us laugh and cheering us up. How are you doing this? Is there a secret to it?" He paused and said, "Because I refuse to live in hell twice. Pain is one thing, but bitterness is suicide on a slow drip." He leaned closer and added, "Young man, happiness is not what you get. It's what you choose, every damn day." I saw him differently from that day. I never forgot those words. They kept on re-echoing in my head, shaping something deep within me. The second encounter happened during a time I had a fracture in my arm from work and was hospitalized in the general ward for weeks. That was when I met a young black lady in her mid-20s. I can't really remember her name right now, but when I do, I'll let you know. We stayed in the same ward. She was the light of the place, always happy, always cheerful. She laughed with everyone, both doctors and nurses, and even with some of the patients. At some point, I thought she wasn't really sick and would be discharged soon. But I noticed something strange. While she was cheerful and full of laughter, her parents weren't. The more she laughed and filled the air with joy, the sadder her parents seemed to become. 1 week into our shared stay, we got talking. Out of nowhere, she looked at me and said, "Make your wish when you're happiest. If you stay sad for more than 30 minutes, your wish disappears." We both laughed, and right there, I made my wish. All I wanted was for my broken arm to heal so I could get back to work. A few hours later, she started gasping for air and was rushed into the emergency hall. 32 minutes later, news of her death was shared with everyone. I was shocked. That was the last person I would have expected to die. I later heard she had been battling a terminal illness that no one knew about until that moment. She died with a smile on her face. I cried. Not because she died, but because in death, she taught me how to live. The third encounter began differently. "Can I see a show of hands?" he asked the crowd. "How many of you know the Mother of Nations?" Most of them raised their hands. Now let me ask you all another question. How many of you know the story behind the name Mother of Nations? This time, not a single hand went up. Well, he continued, let me tell you the story. It all happened 17 years ago. Madam Peace was attending the opening of an orphanage foundation. In the middle of the event, her PA brought her a phone. It was an emergency call. She answered it, and right there in front of everyone, she collapsed to the ground. What had happened? Her entire family, her husband and 2 boys, had died in a tragic accident while traveling to a family function she was meant to join later that day. Because she was attending the orphanage event, she had asked them to go ahead. That was the last time they'd ever see her. For years, she lost her mind. Grief nearly killed her, but 5 years later, through therapy, she reclaimed her soul. Today, she runs support groups for trauma survivors. She is known across the country as the Mother of Nations. I was fortunate enough to speak with her after her recovery. I asked her, how were you able to come back from all this? She looked me in the eyes and said, the moment I chose happiness over sorrow, I found heaven. Right here on earth after all these. I decided to settle back and rethink my life. Because if these people could go through all of this and still hold up their heads high, then who am I to say life has damned me? Or that life isn't fair to me? In fact, I realized I had been very ungrateful. So I decided to resign. I also told my 2 friends, but like always, if a vision isn't seen by all, it can't be carried by all. They mocked me, not out of ridicule, but out of fear. Fear that if they followed me, things might go from bad to worse. We are in a very bad position already, they said. To follow you into this new test, that's too much of a risk. And I made a decision. If I want abundance, I must attract it. If I want joy, I must create it. I must become it. I started waking up early. I blessed people in secret. I practiced gratitude. I laughed at failure. I embraced uncertainty. And the universe responded. Over the decades, I started a textile business. It grew into a fashion empire. I married, had children, taught them the 30-minute happiness rule. I mentored others. I built schools. Today I'm 85, radiating health, surrounded by loved ones, dripping with legacy. You all define life based on how it has treated you. But I say, life is a mirror. It reflects what you put into it. My 2 friends, they're not here today. They didn't believe in life theory. They rejected joy, and life rejected them. But I chose happiness, and happiness chose me back. I've lived both sides, poverty and prosperity, sorrow and peace, but only one side gave me everything. This is my life theory. True happiness attracts wealth. True happiness attracts health. True happiness is heaven on earth. If this story inspired you, please help us grow this channel by sharing this video, giving it a thumbs up, and leaving a comment below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so more people can discover powerful stories like this one. And remember, your life doesn't change when your situation changes. It changes when your definition of life does. Choose happiness. No matter what. Stay safe and cheers.